When you wake up in the morning, you may believe that people are watching you, judging you, waiting for you to succeed, or waiting for you to fail. But the truth is, nobody really cares as much as you think. Everyone is too busy carrying the weight of their own struggles, their own dreams, and their own disappointments. And this realization is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to liberate you. Because when you understand that nobody is waiting to live your life for you, then you recognize the deep responsibility and the deep freedom that comes with it. Your life belongs to you, and every step you take, every choice you make, is ultimately shaping the path that only you can walk. So often in life, we carry the heavy burden of expectation. We think that people are constantly watching us, analyzing our choices, and keeping score of our successes and failures. We imagine that when we stumble, the whole world notices, and when we achieve something, everyone must celebrate. But in reality, the truth is far simpler and also far more freeing. Nobody is watching as closely as you think. Nobody is analyzing every detail of your life. And nobody cares as much about what you do, because they are already absorbed in their own journey. Every human being is carrying their own story, their own struggles, their own inner battles that you may never see. And because of that, the spotlight you imagine shining on you is often only in your mind. This realization can feel harsh at first. It can feel almost lonely, as if the world is indifferent to your existence. But hidden inside this truth is the seed of strength. If nobody truly cares in the way you imagine, then you are free from their expectations. You are free from the imagined pressure to perform according to someone else's script. And once that pressure dissolves, you are left with the simple clarity of responsibility. Your life is yours, and it is yours alone. Most of the suffering we experience is not from life itself, but from the stories we create in our minds. We think, what will they say if I fail? What will they think if I choose differently? What will they whisper if I walk away from what they expect? These questions weigh us down, and slowly they stop us from moving forward. But when you come to see that most people are not even thinking of you at all, that they are immersed in their own doubts and insecurities, then those questions lose their power. People are not waiting for you to fail. They are not plotting against your dreams. More often, they are too consumed by their own struggles to even notice yours. Imagine standing on a vast stage. You feel nervous because you believe all eyes are on you, judging every word, every gesture, every mistake. But then you look more closely and realize that the seats are not filled with critics. They are filled with people who are each thinking about their own lives, their worries, their relationships, their futures. They are not focused on you at all. That is what life is like. The stage feels like it belongs to you, but the audience is distracted by their own stories. This is not a reason to be afraid. It is a reason to act boldly. Because if nobody cares as much as you think, then you are free to take risks. You are free to fail. You are free to experiment, to explore, to try something new, to walk away from what does not serve you, and to build a life that feels authentic. The fear of judgment is one of the strongest chains that holds people back. But once you realize that the chain is an illusion, it breaks instantly. And then you are left with something very simple: the responsibility to shape your life in alignment with who you truly are. When you stop living for the approval of others, you discover a new kind of energy inside you. It is no longer about performing for an audience. It is about walking your own path. It is about waking up each morning and asking yourself, what matters to me? What do I want to create today? What direction do I choose? These are questions only you can answer. And when you answer them with honesty, you begin to live in a way that feels lighter, freer, more purposeful. It is important to see that this freedom is not without weight. Because if nobody cares, then nobody else will walk this path for you. Nobody else will carry your dreams on their shoulders. Nobody else will make the difficult choices for you. It is your life, and that means you are responsible. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a power. It is the recognition that every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you entertain, is shaping the life that you live. When you accept this fully, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for validation. You stop waiting for someone else to move you forward. You realize that the path begins when you begin, and it ends when you stop. Many people move through life with the silent hope that someone else will come and fix everything for them. They wait for support, for encouragement, for recognition, as if another person's care will be the fuel that drives them forward. But this way of living creates disappointment, because the truth is, most people are too preoccupied with their own lives to dedicate themselves to yours. Everyone is carrying hidden struggles, invisible burdens, and silent worries that occupy their attention. It is not that people are cold or unkind. It is simply the nature of existence that each person must focus on their own path. And so, if you are waiting for someone else to motivate you, you will wait forever. When you realize that nobody is coming to rescue you, there is at first a moment of discomfort. It feels as though the ground beneath you disappears, because suddenly you cannot lean on others in the way you hoped. But this discomfort can transform into strength, because once you stop expecting others to carry your responsibility, you begin to see your own potential more clearly. You begin to understand that the strength you were seeking outside has been waiting inside of you all along. It is easy to believe that your effort is invisible, that nobody notices the long hours you put in, the sacrifices you make, or the struggles you endure. And sometimes this is true. Nobody does notice. But what matters more is that you notice. What matters more is that you recognize your own effort, and that you honor your own journey. When you place the responsibility for recognition in the hands of others, you give away your power. But when you acknowledge yourself, you become less dependent on the opinions of the world and more connected with your own growth. The path of life is filled with distractions, social approval, external validation, the desire to be accepted and liked. These are powerful forces. They can lead you to live a life that is not truly your own. You may begin to chase goals that are not aligned with your values, simply because you hope they will bring the applause of others. But what happens when the applause never comes? Or when it does, but it still leaves you feeling empty? That is when you realize that the most important approval you can ever receive is the approval you give yourself. And this approval is not about pride or arrogance. It is about integrity. It is about knowing that you lived in a way that was true to you, regardless of who was watching. The freedom that comes from this realization is profound. If nobody truly cares in the way you imagined, then you are free to stop performing. You are free to strip away the masks you wear for others and return to your authentic self. You are free to follow the quiet voice within you that whispers of a different path, even if nobody else understands it. You are free to live not as a character in someone else's play, but as the author of your own story. With this freedom also comes responsibility, because if you cannot rely on the world to give meaning to your life, then you must create that meaning yourself. This is the task of being human, to take ownership of the limited time you have and to use it in a way that feels purposeful. Nobody else can do this for you. No mentor, no family member, no friend can live your life in your place. They can guide, they can advise, they can inspire, but at the end of the day, it is you who must take the steps. Think of a seed planted in the soil. If it waits for the other plants to provide light, water, and nourishment, it will wither. Its growth is not dependent on the attention of those around it. It grows because it carries the potential of life within itself. In the same way, your progress does not require the constant care or approval of others. It requires your willingness to nurture yourself, to discipline yourself, to rise even when no one is watching. Growth is a silent process, often unseen, but deeply powerful. There will be times when your path feels lonely. There will be moments when you question whether the effort is worth it, because nobody seems to notice. In these moments, remember that your journey was never meant to be a performance for the crowd. It was always meant to be an inward unfolding, a practice of self-mastery and resilience. The care that you thought you needed from others is a reminder for you to cultivate that care within yourself, to treat your own life as something sacred, to value your time, your energy, and your choices, not because the world demands it, but because you understand that this is the only life you have. From a very young age, we are conditioned to believe that the opinions of others define us. The way we dress, the way we speak, the choices we make. Somehow we begin to measure them not by what feels true to us, but by how they will be received by those around us. Approval becomes a kind of currency, and disapproval feels like a punishment. Slowly, we shape our lives around an audience that often is not even paying attention. And yet, despite this conditioning, the reality remains clear. The only person who must live with your decisions is you. Others may have opinions, but they will not carry the weight of your consequences. They will not walk the path your choices lead you down. They will not feel the sleepless nights or the quiet joys that arise from the life you choose. Only you will. There is a strange paradox in human behavior. People often give advice, judge, or comment on the actions of others, but in truth, they rarely carry those judgments beyond a moment. They move on, returning to their own concerns, their own distractions, their own inner conflicts. What may feel like the end of the world to you, a mistake, a failure, a wrong step, often barely registers in the memory of others. This realization should not make you careless, but should release you from the fear of being judged. If their attention is so brief, then why give it such power over the direction of your life? When you stop living for the opinions of others, something within you begins to shift. You start to ask yourself questions that you may have been avoiding for years. What do I truly want? What kind of life feels meaningful to me? What is the direction that aligns with who I am at my core? These questions are not always comfortable because they require honesty. They require you to strip away the layers of expectations that family, society, and culture have placed upon you. But within that honesty lies freedom, because the answers will always point you back to yourself. People often wait for permission to be themselves. They wait for encouragement, for someone to validate their choices, for someone to reassure them that it is safe to live differently. But the permission you are waiting for will never arrive in the way you imagine. Others cannot give you permission to live authentically, because it was never theirs to give. That power has always belonged to you. The day you recognize this is the day you stop waiting and start creating. Authenticity is not about rebelling against others, nor is it about proving anything. It is not loud or forceful. It is a quiet alignment between your inner world and your outer actions. When you speak in a way that matches what you believe, when you act in a way that honors your values, when you make decisions that feel truthful, even if they are difficult, you begin to experience a deeper sense of peace. The noise of external judgment loses its grip on you, because you know you are living in harmony with yourself. It is easy to underestimate how powerful this alignment can be. Many people achieve success in the eyes of society, but feel empty inside, because they built their life on someone else's definition of success. They climbed the wrong mountain, only to realize the view from the top does not bring fulfillment. This is what happens when you allow the opinions of others to dictate your path. But when you climb your own mountain, even if it is smaller, even if it is less celebrated, the view will be yours. And that experience is infinitely more valuable than applause from a crowd that will forget you tomorrow. To live authentically requires courage. Courage to say no when the world expects you to say yes. Courage to choose differently when the path most people take feels untrue to you. Courage to walk alone for a time until you discover those rare people whose values resonate with your own. And yet, every step taken in authenticity strengthens you. Every moment of honesty builds resilience. Every time you choose yourself over the imagined judgment of others, you reclaim your life as your own. There is a saying that the heaviest chains are the ones we place on ourselves. The chain of wanting to be liked, the chain of fearing rejection, the chain of believing that others know better than we do what is right for us. These chains can be invisible, but they are strong, and they can hold you for a lifetime if you do not see them for what they are. But once you recognize that nobody cares as much as you thought, the lock on those chains begins to loosen. You start to understand that the key has always been in your hands. There comes a point in life when you begin to understand that time is moving whether you act or not. Days pass, seasons change, and years slip quietly into the past. Many people spend this time worrying about opinions, holding back their true desires, and waiting for the perfect moment to begin. They tell themselves that they will take action once things feel safer, once the circumstances align, once the approval of others is secured. But waiting becomes a habit, and the habit slowly becomes a way of living. Before long, an entire life can be built on hesitation. The truth is that the perfect moment will never come, because perfection is a creation of the mind. Life itself is never perfectly arranged. It is always shifting, unpredictable, and uncertain. If you wait for absolute certainty before acting, you will never move. This is why understanding that nobody else is waiting for you is so powerful. Nobody is holding space for your dream. Nobody is ensuring that your time is well spent. Nobody will push you into action. It is you who must decide that now is enough, that the moment you have in your hands is already complete, already sufficient, already the place where life is meant to be lived. Taking responsibility for your life does not mean you control everything that happens to you. Circumstances will always arise that you cannot predict. But responsibility means you acknowledge your role in how you respond. It means you see clearly that the path you are walking is shaped by the choices you make each day. Even small choices, repeated again and again, create the direction of your life. The food you eat, the words you speak, the people you spend time with, the habits you nurture, all of these build the foundation for your future. And if you do not choose consciously, they still shape you, only now without awareness. Awareness is what transforms living into intentional living. When you stop waiting for others to care, you begin to care more deeply yourself. You notice where your energy is going, what patterns you are repeating, what voices you are allowing to influence you. This awareness is the beginning of change. Because once you see clearly, you cannot pretend to be blind anymore. You can no longer live as though your time is endless, as though your choices do not matter, as though someone else will step in to make things right. Awareness wakes you up to the reality that your life is unfolding with every breath, and it is asking you to participate fully. It is tempting to believe that the path ahead must be mapped out completely before you take the first step. But life does not unfold this way. The path reveals itself as you walk it. One decision leads to another. One action opens the way for the next. The clarity you are searching for often comes not before you begin, but while you are already moving. This is why starting, even with uncertainty, holds so much value. Waiting for clarity often delays it. Stepping into action often creates it. When you accept that nobody else is responsible for giving your life meaning, you stop handing your power away. You stop expecting the world to notice your effort or validate your choices, and instead you begin to build meaning from within. This meaning grows stronger every time you align your actions with your values, every time you honor your own word, every time you follow through on the promises you make to yourself. Slowly, you begin to trust yourself, And this trust is what allows you to walk with more confidence, even when the future remains unclear. Life is not about proving yourself to others. It is about discovering yourself again and again through the choices you make. It is about learning from each mistake, refining your path with each experience, and returning always to the simple truth that your time here is limited and sacred. When you truly feel this, hesitation fades and action becomes natural. When you see clearly that nobody is waiting for you, that nobody is carrying your dreams, and that nobody will live your life in your place, you also begin to see the freedom that has been yours all along. The judgments you feared are fleeting. The opinions you tried to satisfy are temporary, and the expectations you carried were never truly yours to begin with. What remains is the essence of responsibility, the recognition that your life belongs only to you. This is not a reason for despair, but for strength, because once you stop giving away your power, you are left with the only person who can truly shape your future. You. Your choices, your actions, your discipline, and your courage become the tools with which you build your path. And though the path may feel uncertain, it is authentic because it is yours. So let go of waiting, let go of hesitation, and let go of the weight of imagined eyes watching you. Begin where you are, with what you have, and walk with the knowledge that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same truth. Nobody cares. It is your life, and that is precisely why it matters so deeply how you choose to live it.